Hello everyone, welcome to Cornflower Crafts. My nickname is Corn and I'm here today to show you what I've been working on and then go through the stages of it, and then let's work on the last one together. Well, one of the last ones together. I have quite a few over there just waiting. First off though, I want to give kudos to who I saw do something similar to this, and that is Natasha at Treasure Books. I know a lot of you all here know Natasha. Very, very talented creator. And she did fabric envelopes with book pages, okay? And I will list that video down below so you all can see what she did. Now, I'm a true believer in doing your own thing. If you see it done on someone else's channel, I think if you were to copy it exactly, it just takes your creativity and throws it away. So what I did several things differently. These, as you see, because of their size, they do not look like envelopes. They look like little pouches, actually. And so what I have done, where she used book pages, I used scrapbook paper. She sometimes does just her pinking shears, cuts, you know, here and here, where I do it all over. Sometimes she does it all over as well. I also did some stitching either in the middle, excuse me, or one side, or some of them have no stitching at all in the middle, but I really enjoyed doing that. And on the tops of mine, I have added sections of that snippet roll that I did in my last video, okay? Hopefully that's showing up the decorative stitching in the center. This is an old sheet, and I explained everything on the snippet roll, but I did add 3 sequins and beads to this one. And then this is how this one came up. And you can put little die cuts in here. You can put stickers. You can put fussy cut items. You can put buttons if you wanted to send in snail mail for a friend. Then this one, I hope that's showing up, this fabric, which looks to me like rose petals, it does have glitter on it, and I love working with that one. And that's how this one has turned out. And this one hasn't been glued yet. So you get to see the whole kit and caboodle where you glue your sides. And then it will have, I think I did it like that. Some lace, and yeah, this one hadn't been glued yet. And I did do, remember my bows they came on the large butterflies, and so there's a big hole in the middle. So what I do, you can do a lot of things to put inside of that hole, but what I do is sew a sequin and a bead on that. And this one, that's how this one came out. I like that, just nothing but roses. And I thought that this was so busy that I kept this a little quieter. And then this one. Isn't that pretty fabric? It is fun for me to work with so much fabric. I showed Handsome these. That's what I do. I go into his office and show him what I've been working on, and what he says if he wants one in his office, he'll say things like, if one is missing, then you'll know where it is. And so I said, do you want one? He said, sure. Well, this is a blue-green. Some people call it teal. I'm used to teal being this color here. So I guess if you put a lot of white in that, I guess you could consider that teal. But this is his. He loves the color green. And this piece here comes from a top that I got at the thrift store. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to get tons and tons of little flowers because it had 2 small panels on either side of the buttons. And I was able to get these. And then, of course, where it gets narrow up to the shoulders, I was able to get these pieces from it. But I thought on the side of something that I could place those there. And I put the hearts because, you know, he's my hubby. So that's how his turned out. Then with this one, I know you're going to see the glitter on this one. This one I did just a zigzag stitch on. It's not right in the middle, a little over. And then to pull up the green in with the snippet roll, I just added a sequin and bead to that. And that's how it turned out. And then this one. Lots of trim and lace and sequins. Did the same thing I thought I'd add to pull your eye up here. Now, if you can see the decorative stitch on this, what I do on my machine, I don't work with decorative stitches a whole lot. So what I would do is I just, whatever the machine came up with, this is the stitch length, I let it go. But if I had it to do over again, it's very pretty on the fabric. But these stitches are so tiny. As you know, when you put those stitches on the paper, it's almost perforated. So if I had that to do over again, I wouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't do this stitch. The other one's okay, but this one, the stitching is way too close on the paper inside. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get these guys over here so we can do a little something together. And how are you all doing today? I hope life is good. Do you all do this? When you start off only needing 3, and then you end up with, I've got more than this coming. So I only needed 3 for the 3 journals I'm going to be working on. But, you know. So what I did, I have gotten from Hobby Lobby this, I love this paper pad. Let me grab it for y'all so y'all can see it. I showed it in one of my hauls, and I also recommend it if it is at your local Hobby Lobby. You might want to wait till it's everything. The Paper Studio is 40% off. I will thumb through this with you just for, it's beautiful. And great pages for a journal. Picking up purples and blues and pinks, several shades of pinks and greens, and oh, it's fantastic. It really is. And I got this one for 40% off as well. Okay, and that's what I'm using for my, what I call my paper lining. Like I said, Natasha did hers with book pages. So, and also when it came to, as you see, my fabric, I ripped it. And some of my fabrics loved being ripped and other ones didn't. Like, for example, this one. Let me show you. This one. This fabric, this gingham is extremely lightweight. I mean, it is so thin. And a lot of times when it's that thin, the weave, when you go to rip it, the weave it puckers and does all this stuff here. So I just ended up cutting it. And And that's just how, you know, how it starts out. This is another one that I'm working on. And this one. So that's how they're going to start out. So what mine ended up being, that paper is 8 by 8. So I wanted them 2.5 across, but they're 8 in length because as you, well, maybe I can do it on this one. As you see, you can, you know, you can make your little pocket really deep if you want, and just a short top, or vice versa. Maybe you don't want it that way. Maybe you've got just die cuts you wanted to put in there, and you want it more like this, to where the top is almost at the bottom. You know, up to you. Do it however you want to do it. So let's do this. So I've got this cut 2.5 by 8. And then some of y'all might think this is wasteful. I'm not trying to be wasteful, but for me, I need a good size border going around it with my pinking shears for me. Okay? You might bring it over and up like that, you know, and then have this strip maybe for just in you know, in a snippet or a snippet roll. But this for me makes me comfortable. Now what I do to keep it on there, and Natasha did the same thing. I don't know if she does Prit though. I don't know what she uses for her glue stick, but these are sewn. And so what I do, let me move things out of the way here. Okay, I'm gonna do it over here because glue gets everywhere. Oopsie. It's just make sure that it stays enough to sew it. Now some people have been doing this so long, they don't need to do this. I'm not one of those people, okay? So then we're gonna, this has a few wrinkles in it, so hopefully it's okay. I have a tendency to try to get the wrinkle, you know, pull the fabric so that the wrinkle comes out. Let me see. If you have an old credit card or as you see, a Goodwill card or any card you want that you're not using anymore, you can do it that way. I love using my brayer on these things as well. That's me. Now see, we've got a little spot there. Did you see that? Little bubble. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can still see it, but right, I guess I didn't pull it enough. Okay. Then what I do is I take my pinking shears and I cut them right by the paper. I mean, it's without touching the paper, it's pretty close. Okay, as close as I can get without cutting the paper. My pinking shears are extremely old. Do you hear them? And after I do this, I take it over to the sewing machine, and most of the time I've run decorative stitching down the middle or zigzag, and I've run it on either side. And now, if you are, I'm persnickety, but if you're extremely persnickety, and you want everything to line up, you know what I mean, when you do this, all your zigzags to match, you might get one side going if you're not, I can get both of these though, I think, but that's not always the case. Okay. All right, so now we've got this on. The paper is on there, but not permanently. And we have, not yet, until we sew. And then, let's say, I can't take you all over to my sewing machine because that takes quite a bit of time. It's over there, but I have to adjust it because I have a very small craft room. And let me show you, though, what it looks like. Oh, I get to do it again. Sometimes I don't cut it first. Sometimes I do. Okay? So this is, hopefully you can see the stitching on that. I decided to do it on either side this time. Okay? And again, I'd forgotten. I did this yesterday, y'all. I would have just glued it down and then done this after the sewing. Now, if you decide to do this and you don't sew, then you'll probably get out your Fabri-Tac or whatever fabric glue you use. And you're going to, if I were you, because if you just put it on the fabric, excuse me, it will, where it's thicker, you know, in spots, if you're just going like this, it will, and a lot of times if you're using this 100% cotton, but if you're using cotton like this, it will come through and you'll get little dark spots here and there. If you're cool with that, you can disguise it. You can do things to disguise it, put things over it. But if you're not cool with that, then what I would recommend, and do I have one around me? Not a large one. Hoot. But I would take, I've got a small one. I would take a larger and one that's inexpensive, a very inexpensive brush, and just brush it out so that it would be a nice smooth contact with the with your paper and your fabric, and so that you wouldn't get those dark spots. If it doesn't bother you, and if you know you can cover them up in a very clever way, then, you know, go for it. But if these can be done if you do not have a sewing machine, okay? I just love fabric, and I like sewing, but I'll be honest with you, I'm still having issues about sewing on paper because I was told all my life not to do it. You know what I mean? And yes, these will be saved. No worries. And then you have this, okay? So now you decide, do I want to go, you know, big on the bottom or even bigger on the bottom and small on the top? You get to decide your size, okay? And also at this time, you might want to look at both of, because my sewing isn't perfect on paper, as you see. It's just not. But sometimes I'm like, okay, this edge is better looking than that edge. And what you can do, you can get out your scoreboard and score it first, which I did for quite a few of those. But then I just got to the point where I was like, well, how about if we do, and see, I went up a little ways with my sewing, so I've got to try to ignore that line and think of the line above it. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm saying? And maybe here, and then pull it down. Yeah, let's see what we get here. All right. And then leave yourself some room because there's no thumb hole here. Leave yourself some room. The paper is there to make the fabric stronger. Do I want that? Yeah, that's still okay. Okay. And, you know, you might want to make sure that everything's okay. All right, if you think that this is straight enough, then get out your bone folder. Okay. And that is throwing me off, y'all. But it does look like the same from there to there. Okay. Now, is this where I want it? And the glory of this, the fabric covered paper, is if it's not exactly where you want it, you can mess with it, but I think that's pretty good. And then what you're going to do, if you're happy with it, okay? I think I am. Okay, so then what the glue I personally like to use, since I'm going on paper instead of the fabric, I'm going on the paper, is art glitter glue. And you're going to go down the sides here. I end up putting quite a bit on, though. I'll tell you that. Sometimes I can be heavy-handed, and other times I'm not excuse me, not enough. So this time, these times I'm pretty heavy-handed. Okay. So I'm coming up here. And here. And art glitter glue, as you know, if you use it, it dries pretty fast, but not always. And then what I've been doing is, while this is drying, you can also take, not very much is coming out. One thing that you can do, and Natasha told us to do it, is, and she's right, when you're using pinking shears, if you're going to go like this, this is because it has whatever coating it has on it with this glitter, this doesn't fray super easy. But we'll look down here on the black just to make sure, you know. And here, and yeah, I'm not seeing anything, guys. But some of this fabric, when I did this, just little teeny tiny pieces of the fabric fraying. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Now, what I did after that, and you can put anything on there you want, but look how, remember these were 22 inches each. Now look at this one. That's down to that one. But this is the wider one, and I've still got quite a bit of that left. If I do a really wide, you know, if I take the top down to like here, that's when I'm more comfortable with, because otherwise that just takes the whole top. But you know what? I might use something like that too. Let me see. So let's look at these guys too. To me, the natural cut would be here. And see, I haven't put my sequin, sewn my sequin or my bead in that one yet. Natural cut would be here. Oh, I corrected this too, guys. Remember when we were doing this one together? I did the flower first, and then I put the lace over it. I was like, what are you doing? So very gingerly corrected that mistake. Now this is that vintage pillowcase trim. How sweet would that be here? Let's see, we'd have to cut it right about here. That's the fun part, isn't it? I like it. No, I don't like it. This is better. No. And what about just having, now see, because I could cut it here fine, but I'd either have to cut away that button that I sewed on, or I have to get awfully close to this flower, this rose. I like that one on it the most. And what I could do, and I'll do it later because it, I know you all, time-wise, it's hard for y'all to be here. I would cut this here and then put the green sequin and bead in the center of that to pull up this green. Well, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I would cut there and put here and maybe some lace down here, because I do like the look of lace at the bottom. And also when you do the lace at the bottom, you'll see probably in my future videos that I do have pink bulb pens, and I do have pink charms that, or I'm going to look for maybe even green charms too and do it that way. And of course I put the lace and I put the snippet from the snippet roll on with the Fabri-Tac. And I want to thank you all so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening. Bye-bye, everybody. Take good care.